Our next guest is a multi-platinum selling artist whose new song is paying tribute to his late grandfather, titled If I Could Call. Welcome to the studio, our good friend, David Nail. Always a pleasure, man. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
So I can only imagine, gosh, it was just Easter Sunday. It feels like, right? Like so far ago. But, you know, you have the kids now. I mean, this must be a fun time for the twins are how old? A lot of people that know your story know you have, what, 3 children?
3
right?
children. I have 8-year-old twins, a boy and a girl, and then a 3-year-old baby girl who I just dropped off at dance. So
she's in dance already?
It was dance days are a big day. It's a big morning, just me trying to get her into the tutu and the tights and all that stuff. So very hectic morning, but glad to be here.
You win the Dad Award for that, right?
I'm usually the only dad there.
Is that right?
Which I don't know how it makes me feel. If it makes me feel good or sad that, you know, I don't have a regular dad job.
I think that's a good thing, and I'm sure your kids definitely appreciate that, having that flexibility. Speaking of dad job, boy, man, as I always say, just hands down, one of the best artists, one of the best vocalists in music, period. This song, I was watching the video out today, and I cannot imagine anybody getting through this without just tearing up. It is so beautiful. What a tribute to your grandfather. Obviously, he was one of the most important people in your world. Talk a little bit about him.
Well, I mean, it's hard, you know, even after you write a song like this, you think that it's something that's going to get easier, but, you know, he was just my hero. He was such a wonderful man. I lived right across the street from him from the time I was in, I think, 4th or 5th grade till he passed away, and so he was very accessible, very much an advice giver, but not overbearing. You know, I think well into my marriage, you know, every time I would go home, I might even had a #1 hit. He would slip me a $20 bill
sure you have enough money.
for gas or something. I don't know. We never talked about it. It was just like, here's $20. But he was just an awesome man. He was a great grandfather, and one of my biggest wants over the course of my life, and one of the things that Catherine and I talked about when we first got together, I said, you know, when we have children, if we have a boy, I'm going to name him Lawson, and it's non-negotiable. And one of my favorite stories is when I took her home to meet my parents. We obviously walked across the street for her to meet my grandparents. My mom was still alive at the time, and we walked out of the house, and she looked at me and she said, I get it. I get it. She just fell in love with him too, and he was just kind of that man.
Just obviously a big supporter. And you mentioned, especially in the song too, I love that, if I could call, and you talk about probably wouldn't tell you the truth. And I thought that was interesting. Over time, was he somebody that really kind of was the guy that got the truth out of you, and really you could be honest with him?
I think more than anything is he was just one of those guys that he told a lot of the same stories every time there's a line in the song that says, you know, you'd tell me about Las Vegas. Las Vegas was his favorite place on earth, and he would talk about all the different times he went, all the different shows, all the rodeos that he'd seen over the years. And so it was just one of those conversations that usually started out the same, and then as you know, you hung out there, as you got more and more comfortable, then the truth would come out, you know, where I was at in my career. And he was my biggest fan. He never understood, you know, I should have been on the radio more. They should have been playing my videos more. He never really understood the business. He didn't really care. It was just, you know, I was his baby. I was the next to youngest grandchild. And so, you know, whether it was sports growing up, you know, I should have been playing more, you know, he just, I could do no wrong in his eyes.
Talk about writing this. I don't know how long ago did we lose him, but this had to be kind of therapeutic in a way, probably, to put this.
Yeah, he passed away a couple years ago, and it was, you know, I've told a lot of people, you know, I think a lot of times when something like that happens, you probably write this song very quickly afterwards because it's weighing so heavily on you, and it wasn't the case with this. I started it in November, I believe it was the 3rd, because for whatever reason I decided to keep track of it, and I remember going in and just playing the first part of it to my wife, and she just kind of looked at me like, are you prepared to do this? Are you really going to go there? And I just said, you know, it came out of nowhere, and I just felt like it was a gift from God. And I feel like anytime you have a song like this, you sort of have to remove the emotion while you're writing it and just try to write the best possible song. And it took me about 3 months to get comfortable with where it was, and that I felt like that it said everything I wanted to say, and kind of, you know, really working my son into the end of it was one of the most difficult parts, and just saying that the right way.
Yeah, well, you said it beautifully, boy. One of the greatest things I've ever done is, giving your son his name was, oh gosh. And there is the line too about your mom being a baby and being by his side, and then of course the turn of that she was by his side when he passed. I can't imagine how your mom felt hearing this. It had to be very emotional.
Yeah, she is. I mean, I'm a self-proclaimed mama's boy, and she was such a trooper. I mean, she took care of my mamaw until the end, and she took care of my grandfather. And she was there. She was. I remember she was the one that called me, and it was on our anniversary, I guess 2 years ago. And so it was one of those conversations you knew was coming. And even when I saw her name pop up on my caller ID, I kind of knew and expected for it. But it was just the fact that, I do remember my grandfather talking all the time about how, she was very dependent on both my grandfather and my mamaw when she was a little kid, and probably well into her adult life. Always seeking their approval, always, making sure she was doing the right thing. And so that was actually one of the most difficult parts of writing it, was just trying to figure out how to phrase that. It's a very powerful moment in the song, and a very delicate matter, and something that was very personal to me.
Gosh, what a great song, boy! You just nailed it. I can't say enough about this man. By the way, thank you for joining me last season for On the Record. You guys want to watch your backstory is always so interesting, and how baseball really kind of landed you into the music business. That you can find on RFD-TV's YouTube page, On the Record with this man. A pleasure as always. David Nell, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
You bet.